Hello YouTube. I've been a long-time consumer of content of all the talented people in this community. Some of my favorites have been and continue to be DM Scotrty, Dawnforge Cast, Ben's RPG Pile, Terranscapes, Terrainaholic, and Dr. Fausts Painting Clinic, and I felt it was time to contribute. My channel will be a mixture of a couple of different hobbies/technologies that I'm interested in. These are primarily mold making and casting, tabletop gaming accessories focusing on Pathfinder/D&D, as well as some 25 to 28 millimeter wargame terrain, 3D printing, computer work using applications like SketchUp, which is necessary if you want to make any custom items to print out in a 3D printer. I'll also be using VB.net and ASP.net to create custom gaming tools and applications, and I also like to use Photoshop to make gaming accessories. My next few videos, which are nearing completion, are my own flavor of DM Scotrty's 2.5D game tiles. So with that brief introduction, let's jump into the first build. The first thing I did is I designed the shelf in SketchUp, which is a free CAD program. The shelf is really a simple shelf. It's made up of 3 different components. The first component there is the middle shelf, which is a little bit different from the 2 shelves that I have highlighted right here. The middle shelf has an extra gap in it to allow for plugging the other ones in. And the last component is really 4 different struts, which hold the shelf together once it's ready for assembly. So it's pretty easy to design that. I designed that in probably 5 or 10 minutes and then printed it out on the printer. Alright, what you see here is the master that's been mounted on the foam board, and I have a border around it forming a container. That's where the mold, the rubber will be poured into. So I didn't actually have the mold pouring in this one, but I'll have it in a future one, I'm sure. So what you see here is after the demold, the original master, and then the green mold behind it. So the rubber I'm using is a Platso 7325, which I get from a company out of Texas called Brick in the Yard. It's a RTV, or room temperature vulcanizing rubber, which means you don't have to heat it to get it to harden. I think the pot life on this is about 10 or 15 minutes, and once you pour it, you can actually demold your product in about 3.5 or 4 hours, depending on the humidity. So I've had good luck with this, and it's what I use mostly for all of my pours. We'll go into more of this whenever we do a video specifically for mold making, which I'm sure will come up in the future. But what I've done, and you can see in the background here, is I've started to disassemble, cut up the piece that I've made using some resin, and I'm extracting all the parts with a big utility blade and a smaller X-Acto knife. So what I'm doing here is just popping out some of the skin or the film that will sometimes appear or cover parts of the openings at the top of the mold, even though we put a glass down to make a nice flat top, so you would hopefully not get a bunch of this flashing. You generally have a little bit of this flashing anyways, but it clears up, cleans up real easily. So I'm just cleaning these up now. So the actual, I've speeded this up obviously. The complete time to sort of cut one out and sort of get it rough fit is, I would say, about 4 or 5 minutes for each one. But so now that I've got it all cut up, I'm just going to do a rough assembly here, and they fit really snugly. Sometimes you might have to use your X-Acto knife to whittle off some of the edges, but they go in pretty easily, and once they're all snapped together, we will have a pretty good idea that our pieces all fit correctly, and once we glue it, we won't have any problems. So once we've got the assembly done, which we do now, we're going to move on to the painting part of the project. Now, unlike a lot of the other channels you can see here, like Cattafish and Dr. Fausts and AGProductions, I'm not a very good painter. Those guys are excellent painters. So I'm not an outstanding painter, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. What I'm showing you here is I've already painted, roughly painted the piece. Now I'm applying some potion bottles to the top that I fashioned out of some beads, some pins, and some bead attachments. They're sort of like cylindrical objects. So they actually come up pretty nice come up with a pretty nice product. So what I've done is I've actually put some potion bottles on there, and I noticed that some of the paint has come up, so I'm going to do a little touch-up to do there and there. Now, the one thing that I also noticed, I want to put some books on here. So you can see there's 2 areas there that I've just tapped where I want to place some books. So I've printed some books out on the 3D printer, and it took about 2 minutes to print these things out because they're all small. There's 7 books right there. And again, because I'm not the greatest painter, I'm just going to go ahead and skip to the part where they have been painted and getting ready to put them onto the bookshelf. I think they came out okay. I was pretty happy with them. Just went with a straight black, white. The books, they may be a little whiter than I like the pages, but that's not too bad. And I put some gold trim on some of the bindings of the other ones. So I'm going to place the one here, and the other one I'm going to put right, that's right, flip these guys around and put one right there. So the next step will be to glue them on, which I've already done. Now what I'm going to do is glue the pieces together to create the final product. I think I may have done one, or did one sort of touch-up after this step as well, just to make sure that any areas where the paint has sort of stripped off, or I didn't do a very good job of dry brushing the lighter color of the darker color, I went back and re-hit those. So what I've done is I've already glued the bottom part, and I'm just going to use some sort of like a gel super glue in these, and it's not going to take a whole lot. They fit pretty snugly, so just a little bit of glue in each one of these should make a nice tight bond that I'm not going to have to worry about doing anything with it. They're not going to fall apart. The pieces on there would probably be more apt to get knocked off before the shelf falling apart. So once I snap those pieces in and try to minimize the amount of glue I get on my fingers, I show you what the final product is here. So there you see it in my hand. I think it came out pretty good. Move in a little bit. There you go. It came out okay for my first one. A little zoom in there. And then what I've done here is I've actually shown what it looks like with mounted on a tile, just to give you an idea of what the final product looks like in play. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I really enjoyed putting it together and making it, and I hope you found it interesting, and I'm going to be making some more things here real soon, and hopefully you'll come back and check my channel out and subscribe, and thanks for watching. Take care.